So, you want to shoot your car for Bring a Trailer. Since the popularity of sending cars to online auction platforms like Bring a Trailer, Cars and Bids, Pcarmarket, and all these other, online platforms has gotten very popular, it's been great. There's been a huge amount of ease that's been placed on the seller, and they don't have to deal with tire kickers, with the Craigslist scammers, and maybe even serial killers. Although it's been a huge success, there are some major misses that I've come across as a professional working in the industry. Here are some do's and don'ts that I have noticed being in the industry for over 8 years of things that people do that end up costing them thousands of dollars. Yes, thousands when it's time to go sell their vehicle. So, diving into the do's. Number 1, bring microfibers. It doesn't matter how clean the car is, it's going to be driven to the spot unless it's going to be brought in on a flatbed, enclosed, and it's just left the detail shop. There will always be something that you need to take off. And especially if it's something that can be, taken off with your finger, a little bit of a microfiber, some elbow grease, some effort whatsoever, do it and take it off with a microfiber and some detailing spray. Don't rely on Photoshop to take that dirt and grime off, because that's going to be used against you when the car goes live in public. At the end of the day, there is a gaggle of geese, aka the peanut gallery, that will go after you for the slightest. Number 2, there is one aspect of taking pictures, specifically vehicles, where this is incredibly important, and that is using a CPL. A circular polarizer is a piece of photography equipment that I think is beyond essential, especially in this realm where you're dealing with glares and reflections and high spots and low spots of exposure that can be cut through by moving your CPL around. In fact, I'll show you mine. So you see this right here? This is my go-to lens. It's my workhorse. It's a 24-70. You can get away with years of shooting cars just with this, especially if you're in the retail space like I have. The main thing that I wanted to show you though is the CPL that I have. As you spin this filter, you will cut through the glares that are present either on the leather or on the metal or on the carbon, and it's going to let you showcase a lot of the details that are incredibly important. If you have an image that has a distracting amount of reflections or a high spot that doesn't allow people to really see the quality of the car, you're going to lose interest, and you need as much interest as possible when you're selling that car on a public forum like that. Number 3, study the car before you arrive. If it's your car, you should know more or less about it. If it's not your car, and especially if you're going to be taking a car to the market where people aren't able to see it in person, you become their eyes. So you need to present these cars as honestly as possible and with as much detail as possible. Where are the VIN stickers? Where can I find engine stampings? If I have access to a lift, will I be able to see them from a lift? If I don't have a lift, where can I get under the car to see them? Some people have aftermarket parts on their car, and the serial number is really, at the end of the day, all they have to prove its legitimacy. And records also. If the client, you, the owner, or your client has records for the vehicle, make sure you shoot them, lay them out nicely, and just make it look like you cared about the presentation of the car. Because by doing that, you're going to make someone want to buy it. Studying the car and knowing what the car comes with, what your subject comes with that day, is very important. And the more you prepare, the better. Number 4, symmetry. Symmetry is insanely important, okay? So one thing that drives me up a wall and clinically insane is when I see any presentation of a car and I'm looking at it from up front and I see the driver's seat here and the passenger seat here. That is a no-no. You know what this tells me when I'm looking at a car with mismatching seats? Oh, the guy had 20 minutes to shoot the car. He doesn't really care about it. This is just another turn and burn situation. And that is not just what I think. I'm sure that's what maybe the top 10 bidders might be thinking at the same time. And running the risk of the implication that you don't care is too big of a risk, especially for something so simple to fix like where your seats are aligned, where your visors are. If one is down, the other one needs to be down. If one is up, the other one needs to be up, and just put it away. Also, when looking at interior pictures, AC vents. One AC vent is like this, the other one's like that, the other one's like this across the dashboard. I feel like I'm looking at googly eyes on the interior, and it's incredibly distracting. And again, that sort of lack of effort really goes a long way when it comes to presenting cars like this, especially if you're trying to capitalize on gaining as much revenue and having the strongest sale possible. Number 5, shoot in a specific order, always. If I have a subject and my car is being shot on the outside, doesn't necessarily mean you shoot the interior first or you shoot the interior last. Just make sure that as you scroll through your camera roll, when you're looking at your SD card, the car rotates. It's the easiest way to avoid any sort of errors or any sort of did I shoot that moment, because at the end of the day, we are human. Pro, amateur, owner of the car, or contracted photographer, you're going to forget. So when you go back and you look at your photo set and you see the car do a little spinny on your camera when you're looking at it, you can at least know that, rest assured, you got the shots. Number 6, keep even lighting. Now, this sounds very basic, doesn't sound like anything too technical, but not everybody has a studio. I don't even have a studio that I shoot in. I shoot outdoors most of the time. The sun is my best friend, and the sun is my main key light. Use that to your advantage, and at the same time as you use the sun to your advantage, you also have to be aware that it could be a disadvantage. Once you get to the interior, make sure that you put the car in an area with even shade and even lighting. Why? Because it's incredibly distracting to see an interior that has a bunch of shadows, and it's a little bit difficult to determine whether the dashboard is warped, the stitching is still in place, are there cracks, are there not cracks. These are things that people are thinking of when they're looking at these pictures because they're not there. You are their eyes. So in having even lighting when you're getting to the interior part, it's going to save you a lot of time in editing, also in effort, in the fact that you're not going to be fighting the sun so much. And even though you might be using a CPL, it still might not be enough to compensate for the higher spots and the glares that you might get on the leather naturally. Now, those are some do's. There are many more, but let's get on to the don'ts. Number 1, don't forget water. I know this sounds very dumb, but you're going to be outside if you're not in a studio, and if you're outside, you're going to get hot and you will suffer. Maybe not physically. You could be physically active and good and fit, and your hinges and joints are all healthy, but even if you're outdoors, you're going to get hot, you're going to mentally exhaust yourself, and then goes the did I shoot that moment? And then it just creates either a lack of trust between client to you as the shooter, or it just creates a lack of trust with yourself because you didn't even know what you shot, and you end up spending 20 minutes shooting extra stuff that you had already done because you're mentally not there. So just hydrate. Make sure you got water. Don't fix it in post. Going back to the do's, do clean. Do not rely on post. Don't rely on post. If it's something that you can take off with a microfiber, do it. If I see a photo presentation and I notice that there's a crazy amount of gradients and radial filters and things that have been done to the floor, who's to say they didn't Photoshop half the car? It happens. And that loss of trust, as soon as you lose that trust, it's going to be almost impossible to gain it. And that trust could have cost you a $5,000 bid or a bidding war that lasts 20 minutes and gets you $10,000 more. You don't know. 3, kind of feeds off the don't do it in post, but don't be lazy. If the sun is where your light source is, always point your subject towards the sun. Don't expect to shoot this angle of the car that's lit up and walk around the car to shoot this angle now completely in the shade. It's not excusable whatsoever to walk around and shoot a car that's completely in the shadow when you could have just moved it and put it back in the light. Feeding off the lazy concept, if you're shooting and your wheels are turned and you go to the other side and the wheels are still turned opposite to the angle, that is just like, it's so disrespectful, honestly, when I see those pictures, because I just think to myself, man, this guy really didn't give a shit. I've seen cars that are direct comparables to one another, and they have drastically different levels of effort, and the car with a better presentation did better, sold stronger, and this guy was upset saying, I don't get it. What did I do? Number 4 applies to the more experienced and seasoned photographers. Don't rely on your aperture for lighting. You have shutter speed and ISO for a reason. Your aperture in this case is not to be messed with too much. Bokeh is not your friend here. This is not an art project. This is a true presentation that is honest and represents the vehicle to its fullest abilities without it being distracting, where you have a crazy shift in your depth of field and focus. But I typically, especially since I shoot outside, I'm always between the range of like f7 all the way to like f14. especially because I shoot at noon and I like those dramatic drop-offs and shadows. That's where I implement creativity. But there's no room for a loss of focus, and that completely throws off your clients, and it makes it confusing to try and even understand what you're looking at. Again, it's not bad. Bokeh's not the enemy, but in this case, it's not your friend. 5. Don't take forever editing. This feeds off of not doing things in post. However, time is money for everybody in this, right? It doesn't matter if you're the seller shooting your own pictures or if you're a photographer with a client that needs the pictures shot. Don't take forever. If you delay the car hitting the market because you're taking too long on your pictures, you might have missed a window of opportunity, and that alone is worth thousands of dollars, and that's an insane mistake to make. Don't take too long to edit your pictures and turn them in as quickly and as professionally as possible. And then I leave you with this final little bit of information. Don't forget to have fun. I know, it's corny, but have fun. You meet a lot of really cool people. It's a business of opportunity, it's a business of relationships, and it's a business of personalities, really. The more charismatic you are, the more fun you have with your clients, the more word of mouth. It's just good marketing for you. Market a car appropriately, you're going to market yourself and your own work appropriately as well. So feel free to let me know if you have any other questions in the comments. Let me know if you're also a photographer and you see do's and don'ts that people always have on these sorts of platforms that I might have missed. I'd love to go ahead and talk about it in the comments section below. And don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll be uploading more often, and I'll give you some more behind the scenes of some of the shoots that I get to do. Hope to see you guys soon, and take care. Cheers.